I wanted to learn more about it. And I knew that submitting a talk with this was going to light that fire under me to learn and give the talk. And now I know a lot about color spaces and the color functions and all of that. So yeah, that was a really, really fun one to give. I really liked giving that one.
How's it going, Aubrey?
I'm not doing too bad. How are you doing? How are you enjoying your summer so far?
All right, except for what it's been like 12 Saturdays in a row where it's
I
rained.
think it's like 13 and the
Yeah.
14th is coming up for this Saturday. We're going to get more rain. Of course, the weather here is not great still, at least up here north of Austin. It's pretty gloomy and rainy today. So looking forward to the sun again.
Yeah. Though I don't know, we had that one last week, that one really hot, like 90-degree day, and now
Yep.
it dropped down to like the 50s. It's very
Yeah.
like
Yeah. It's
what to
what,
wear.
60 degrees right now. And it went on a run this morning though, before it started raining. So that's been a pretty nice part of my summer.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's always a great
Yeah.
idea to try to like start your day by getting out there. Like I like doing that as well. Oh, I don't like running, but I like going for a
Like,
walk to my
yep.
coffee shop and getting coffee.
Yeah, that's nice. I do the other days I'm not running, I will do yoga inside and then take a walk outside. And there's one coffee shop at the end of my street. I live in an apartment complex and it's not super walkable where I am, so that part's kind of a bummer, but there's one place I can go that has coffee. So, I go there sometimes when I don't feel like making my own.
There you go. When you need that excuse to get outside and
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I'm at home all the time, so I need to get out and do something, see the fresh like smell the fresh air, feel the sunshine when there's actually sun, which
yeah.
is again not been the case a lot. Been lots of rain and lots of cold, and I'm ready for it to just be summer.
That was one of the reasons why actually back in as a Christmas gift for myself, I'm not using it at the moment. I'm standing on it. I got myself a under the desk
Mm.
treadmill. So like I try when it's gross out to then just instead of sitting at my desk, like walking at my desk. And I've gained like I keep track of it in a spreadsheet because I'm a big nerd, right? So I track
Mhm.
everything in spreadsheets. I've gotten like 60 miles of distance since January that I wouldn't
Wow.
otherwise, have walked. So keeping
Yeah, I
active.
my apartment complex has a fitness center, so there are treadmills. Over the winter, I tried running on the treadmills, and it's running on treadmills not my favorite. I'd rather be running outside, but it's an option, especially in the winter when I really don't want to be outside. The sidewalks aren't really shoveled here in the winter, so it's really kind of dangerous to run. So I would run on the treadmill instead. And that's an option in case like I want to again get out of my apartment, but it's not nice outside. I can just go to the fitness center and take a walk there and put on
Yeah.
a podcast and look out the window and see people with their dogs. There's lots of people in this complex with dogs, so I see them all the time. It's pretty nice.
What when you're listening to a podcast, like what podcast do you listen to these days?
So for some reason this year, and it's funny that it took me 25 years to get into this, I started watching Survivor. It's been
Oh, the
on
show?
forever. I'd never seen it before this year. Like even season one, which came out the summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college. I started watching Survivor and then I got really into it. And now I listen to 3 different Survivor podcasts and I listen to a lot of those on my runs and my walks. And I listen to, let's see, what else do I listen to for podcasts? Talking Drupal, obviously. 404 Media, that's a
Yeah.
favorite website I read, and I listen to their podcast as well. I'm a subscriber, so I really enjoy their articles and their podcasts. So I listen to a wide variety.
Nice.
Do you listen to anything when you're on your walks?
No, I try like before the pandemic, right? I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I think I know you had listened to my old podcast, like I'd
Mm-hmm.
mentioned things I listened to. But since then, I kind of dropped off of really listening to a lot of podcasts because it would be my commute time, and now I don't
Yep.
really have that commute time. And I like the chance, like I still call it my buffer time, like that time. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's like my kids get on the bus for school, for this, until summer vacation.
Yep.
And then I have enough time until my first meeting of the morning where I can walk to the coffee shop and then get back. So I like to just like have like listen to nothing, like just listen to the world
Mm-hmm.
around me, just kind of like clear my mind because the rest of the day, like you're busy thinking and problem
Yep.
solving. So it's hard for me to get back in that mindset of listening to a podcast because if I don't listen to them regularly, then I drop off anyways.
Yeah.
Just haven't picked it up. But I might
Yeah.
pick up Mark Maron's podcast again, WTF, because he just announced, I don't know if you've ever listened to it. It's been on for like
No,
6
I haven't
years.
before.
So he's been doing it a long time, 16 years, and they just announced he's like going to retire from the show in
Hmm. I think I
September.
heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. When I first started working remotely after working in an office for a while, I missed that kind of buffer time that I would get when I worked in downtown Boston. I would take the train, I'd take the T into downtown and back. And that was kind of my transition time between home and work.
Mhm.
And I don't really have that working remotely. So I try to kind of fake it by, again, walking or doing something like that either before or after the workday, just so I get that transition time to be like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with work. Walk away from my computer. You can see my living room, or you can't see it because I'm blurred, but my living room is right behind me. So I just walk from here to my couch and it's 2 seconds. So I have to do something to make the transition so it's not so jarring.
Yeah, you want
And
that like that separation of space, right? So
yep,
it's like where you are now, do you only really use it just for work mostly and then try not to
mostly.
rest your apartment?
I like write in my journal. I'm really into stationery and fountain pens. So I'll write in my journal. I have a planner that I use my fountain pens with. So I'll do all that at this desk too. But for the most part, it's work. And right now I am unemployed. So my work is finding a job, which has been an interesting experience to try to find a job right now in this work climate. So,
Oh yeah.
but I'm learning a lot about updating my resume and cover letter and what I'm interested in for how I want my career to go. So it's been an interesting experience so far.
Wow. Now, I mean, we recently were both at mid camp, and I know you're looking for stuff there as well. So how's it
Yep.
been going to like a conference and speaking like on your own behalf? I mean, I guess you always did that, but you're not like
Yeah.
I'm for this company. Like, is there? Did you go in with like a different approach to how you might approach going to a conference?
A little bit. Like, it's interesting because I had to update my slides. It's I spoke at Florida Drupal Camp at the beginning of the year when I was still employed, and my slides there had my company name on it and all of that. And my intro slide where I'm talking about myself and introducing myself, I had to say, oh, I'm a XXX at X. And, I had to change all that giving this talk at midcamp. And it was interesting to try to figure out what my title should be when I don't have a job. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what do I call myself? So I've been calling myself a lead front end developer because that's where I am in my career. So I'm trying to find jobs with that title. And it's been interesting. I've been applying to a lot of senior staff, principal positions. And yeah, so far it's just trying to, again, figuring out where I want my career to go. But yeah, it wasn't that different speaking on my behalf at a conference as opposed to being employed. So it was, it was fun. Mid camp was fun, and it was my first time going. I don't know if
Oh,
you've been
really?
to mid camp before.
I have. I've gone a number of years, but it had been like 6 years. I think 2019 is the last time I'd gone.
Mhm.
So I was glad to have a chance to go back. But yeah, it's a great camp. I always love going.
Is it always in that Lincoln Park area in Chicago, or has it been
It
in other
is.
places before?
I as it's pretty much always been there. I think one of the first times I went, it was somewhere slightly different, but it was still on that
Mhm.
campus. I think it was just in a slightly different
Oh,
building.
okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I love Chicago. I used to live in Indiana, so I would go to Chicago. The
oh
first
really?
job I ever had, we had clients in Chicago, so I'd go to Chicago. I lived an hour and a half outside of the city, so pretty easy for me to get into the city to like, work with a client for the day. And it was just in the loop, so that was the only part of Chicago I'd ever been to. I
Hmm.
never been anywhere else. I never spent the night in Chicago because I lived so close that I always drive home at the end of the day. So I'm like, oh, I'm spending the night out here. This is interesting. And Lincoln Park was a cool area. I really liked
Yeah.
all the restaurants and coffee and all that stuff out there. I only went to that one coffee shop that I can't remember the name of. I'm trying to remember if you were there. I think you were there, right? Yep.
I mean, so I don't know if I've ever told you. So I have a rule for myself when I go to conferences is that when I go to eat or get coffee, I'm not allowed to go anywhere I could go at home. It's like I'm not
Hmm.
going to Starbucks, I'm not going to
Yep.
Dunkin' or something like that. So yeah, finding those small like every day I spend way too much time on Google Maps finding like
Yep.
where the cool little coffee shops are and what is the cool little local niche place to eat. And
Yep.
it's always a fun chance to do that. Yeah, I forget what places I went to because I went to like 4 different coffee
Oh, yeah, I
shops.
think I only just went to one because I was only there. I wasn't there for that long. I came in really. The conference was on Tuesday and Wednesday. I think is that right? Tuesday and Wednesday. I flew in Monday night and flew home Thursday morning, so I wasn't there for that many mornings that I could get coffee.
Yeah.
So I only went that on Wednesday morning with you all. I can't remember what the coffee shop was called. I should have written that down, but don't remember.
I have this weird quirk to my brain. Like if you show me a map, I can point out like here's I can't remember the names of them unless I'm looking at the map, but I can be like, here's where I went. Here's where I went. And like I have this map from when my wife and I, this was years ago, this was like 2012. We went to London and like I can still point to the map every single place we went to.
Nice.
Here's where we went. Oh, I gotta tell you, for my trip for mid camp, so I flew out Friday morning. I was so afraid I wasn't going to make my flight. Want to hear what happened?
Yeah, definitely.
So I had an early morning flight, like 8 a.m. So boarding time was at like 7:40. So like, all right, I'm going to get up early. I got up at like 5. I was out of my hotel room by 5:25 and checked out. And the person at the desk was like, "Oh, you want me to call you a taxi?" I was like, "Oh no, I can get like a Lyft or an Uber." So I go out front and I go get a Lyft, and it says, "All right, your driver's 2 minutes away." 10 minutes later, it says, "Your driver's 2 minutes away." I was like, "What's going on?" And then the driver canceled on me. I was like, "Okay." I tried to get another one. 10 minutes go by. It still couldn't find me another driver. So I switched to same thing. Like people would pick me up or not pick me up, like, yep, your driver's coming. And then they'd cancel it. And so it's getting like,
that's weird.
Like 6:15 at this point.
Like, I need to get up there. Were you flying out of O'Hare or out of Midway? Okay,
no,
so it was a little farther.
But it's still like 40 minutes away, right?
Yep.
And then I knew like rush hour was coming. And so what I had to do was switch to Uber Black Car and like pay twice as much. And finally the guy showed up. And I was like, "Hey, my flight starts boarding in like 40 minutes, or like I got to get to the airport."
Gotta hoof it up to the airport. Yep.
He's like, "Why'd you wait so long?" It's like, I didn't. He's like, "Oh, there's construction and people don't want to get stuck rush hour." Anyways, I made it there by 7:20.
Wow.
7:20. And then I have TSA pre-check. But because it was the weekend of Memorial Day.
That's right. It's Friday morning. So it's going to be everybody.
It was all back. Like even TSA pre-check was so backed up. The line went all the way back to like the baggage counter, like where you check. So I mean, it moved pretty quickly, but I made it with like 10 minutes before they started boarding the flight. Like I was so I've never been so freaked out. And then going through TSA, they flagged my bag. Because one of the groups, I forget which sponsor, they had bottles of hot sauce they gave away.
That's right. That's right.
And it's 5.5 ounces and it got flagged. And the guy's like, "You can't bring this. It's too big." I was like, he's like, "Do you want to check your bag?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going to check my bag for a free small bottle of hot sauce." And as soon as I walk away, I hear him go like, "Hey, Jenny, you want some hot sauce?" Like, I'm like, well, at least they'll use it in their break.
If someone hopefully is enjoying that hot sauce. Yeah, I flew out of O'Hare the previous morning. I flew out I think I had a 7 a.m. flight on Thursday. I was supposed to fly out really late on Thursday night, but out here we were having a nor'easter out here in the Boston area. So I wanted to get home earlier because I wasn't sure if my flight was going to even be able to get home because of the wind. And so the cheapest flight that was earlier was 7 o'clock in the morning. So I left first thing in the morning. I think I was up at 4 a.m. and got up, and I flew out of O'Hare too. And there was no problem with TSA because it was Thursday.
Yeah.
But yeah, flying out on a Friday before a long weekend is, lots of people. I flew out Easter Sunday in the morning of Easter Sunday one day. And that was that was a hectic. I don't know if you've ever flown out of Bradley Airport in Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh no.
It is a small airport. And the TSA line stretched across the entire airport. That's how small it was because there's so many people trying to fly. I'm like, I've never seen this little airport this busy. And it was something else. But yeah, did you enjoy your time at mid-camp this year after 6 years?
Yeah, it was good to be back and see a lot of people I hadn't seen in a while or in person in a while and meet some new people. And yeah, I had a talk that I think went really well. And I also gave a lightning talk, which I'd come up with like the night before, which it was, I think you saw I was kind of tongue in cheek about conference travelers' dilemmas. Like you get a hotel room with 2 beds. Which one do you sleep in? Which one?
Yep.
That would be a little fun.
That was pretty great. Yeah, I had a good time too. Again, my first time at mid-camp. I was supposed to make it either last year or 2 years ago, but then I had to cancel. So I was really bummed about that. But I was really happy I could make it work this year. And I gave a talk too. I gave what the front end developer brings to your team. gave that talk. I think that went pretty well. It was first thing in the morning on the second day of the conference. So I'm thinking in those days, it's usually not as well attended as the first day because some people like having the late nights. So, which is fine. You're at a conference, have fun. So, but still, I had a good amount of people in there and it was fun to give it. So I was pretty happy about it.
Let me ask you, because you speak a lot of conferences. What's your preferred like slot for speaking? Like, is it morning the first day, afternoon of the first day, last? Like, do you have a ones that you cross your fingers and hope for?
Yep, sure do. First
Oh
thing
yeah,
in the morning on the first day is
oh yeah.
I love first thing in the morning at any time because I prefer the first day because there's more people. But first thing in the morning, just so it gets done and I don't have to think about it the rest of the day, it's my favorite. So,
All right.
do you have a favorite spot?
I think, I think lunch after lunch on the first day, because I get worried at the very first slot that like not everyone showed up yet. And
Hmm.
then it can be a little hard after lunch, but I like it that then you don't have to worry about people like coming in late. Like people usually get there
Yeah.
relatively on time. But yeah, getting it out of the way on the first day. The worst I've got stuck with this so many times is the very last session slot on the last
Mm,
day. That's happened to me so many times, which
oh,
I'm
yeah.
just happy to be there speaking, but I feel like that's when you get like the least amount of people to kind of show up.
Yeah, because people are pretty much like kind of like we've learned so many things this week.
Yeah.
My brain is fried. I don't know if I can sit through another session. Yeah, I don't think I've had the last slot yet. I know it's coming. I have an afternoon session. I got accepted to Drupal Camp Asheville, so I'm going to be
Awesome.
speaking there next month. And my session is at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. So that one's a little bit later in the afternoon. I don't think it's the last slot of the day, but it's getting there. And I'm giving the same front end developer talk that I gave at Florida and at MidCamp. So excited to do that one again.
That's a camp I've never had a chance to make it out to. That and like Colorado camp, just because the
Hmm.
timing and
Yep.
also GovCon, because the timing of those conferences, I always have like a personal conflict that I just can't
Yep.
make it out to as much as I'd love to make it out
I've
to it.
never been to Colorado, but I love Asheville. I went to Asheville last year too and spoke there. And that was a really fun camp. I really like Asheville a lot. I've been before the camp and yeah, it's got lots of good beer, lots of good food, lots of good barbecue. So I really like that. I love North Carolina barbecue. So I love barbecue in general. I can't get enough of that. But yeah, it's a really, really fun camp, really low key, really relaxed. It's in July. So it's not super hot. I think because it's so close to the mountains, Asheville doesn't get super, super hot. So it was a pretty nice time last year when I went. So I'm looking forward to this year too.
Do you try to, one of the things I try to do, I've tried to do the last couple of years for conferences I go to is like either get there if I can, like a day early or stay a day after if it's a place I've never been to before to like
Hmm.
get a chance to explore. Do you ever get a chance to do that? Have you ever?
I did. I mean, I had gone to Asheville before, but last year I think I got there a day before. I got there on Wednesday and the conference started on Thursday. So I did have a day to kind of go and see some stuff. I went to, it was kind of this food hall. I can't remember what it's called. I should have looked it up, but it had like good food. It had some beer. And I hung out there for a bit. And then I went to a place called Tupelo Honey for dinner, which has really good Southern food. And I think I probably had fried chicken because I love fried chicken too. And it was really nice to kind of just like spend some time in downtown Asheville, just kind of hanging out before the conference stuff started on Thursday. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's like my team and I for DrupalCon Atlanta, this last DrupalCon, we were all there for the day after, like basically the conference was over. So we actually rented a car and like drove out to, I'm gonna say like the countryside, right? And we went
Hmm.
for a hike and then we found this random barbecue spot. It was like we were driving down a logging road, and then all of a
Oh, that's
sudden there's
cool.
this set of condominiums with a barbecue out front with like a whole like 16-foot like pit smoker. It was so
Wow.
good. And then we went to this classic car museum that we had found.
Hmm.
Because it's always interesting to be able to have that chance to be like, I'm never really probably going to be here that
Yep.
often. Like, so let's take the chance to go out and like make some memories. And I think that's one of the things, and I wanted to ask you about this since one, you go to conferences a lot, and two, you speak a lot also.
Hmm.
Like, since the pandemic, I mean, talks have always been recorded for Drupal events, which has
Hmm.
been great because,
Yep.
Kevin's work. But I feel like when people give the same talks over and over, like it's easier to find them now online.
Hmm.
I think also with the emergence of AI and like video generation, like it's going to be less and less incentive to like to watch the talk recordings. So like the
Mhm.
value of conferences is definitely, I see a resurgence of like meeting in person and like meeting
Mhm.
with people and getting those experiences. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on how the conference world is going in terms of, let's say, just Drupal conferences and
Mhm.
camps, like the benefit of listening to talks versus like meeting with people?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I almost never listen to talks after the conference. I go to conferences mainly for the face-to-face time with people. I like going to see the conferences in person, but I also like chatting with people before and after, chatting with people at lunch, chatting with people at the after events, just talking about what's going on. I mean, it depends. Like, I like the idea of watching talks after the fact, but I never do it. Like, I wish I did. I wish I had more time to do it. Sometimes I'll do it for DrupalCon.
Yeah.
For DrupalCon talks, I didn't really do it this year. And there are other conferences where I will watch the talks later on. A good example of that is one called AxeCon. It is a web accessibility conference, and I will watch those talks after
Yeah.
because they always talk about really, really interesting accessibility topics, and I really like listening to those. And that's usually in March. And I have listened. I think it was March. Maybe it was February. It was February. I know it was the beginning of the year. I have not listened to the talks yet. I always sign up. It's free. So you can go and listen to those whenever you want afterward. And yeah, they're always really good. I just need to sit down and watch them. I'll like cast it onto my TV and just sit on my couch and watch them on my TV. So
Yeah.
they're pretty fun.
I always find the ones I do end up watching after the fact is, like when you look at the conference schedule and it's like,
Mhm.
there's like six at the same time that I
Yep.
want to go to. And like this next block, there's nothing that I really am passionate to see. So it's always like picking one of those ones where I have to pick and choose which one to go to. And then if I find like
Yep.
this is relevant to what my team's doing, like I'm gonna check it out later on. But it's easier, like if I'm like, oh, I know this person will be at this upcoming conference as well. And so I'll just
Yep.
wait and see it then.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that a lot too. Like, I think I've actually seen that. I think I've actually done that a couple times where I'm like, oh, I didn't get to see this person's talk at this conference, but I see that they're coming to this one and I'll just watch it there. And that's happened a couple times. Like, again, I've given the same talk at a few different camps every year for the last couple of years, and it really helps out because not all the same people come to every conference.
Yeah.
So, like the Asheville camp, there's a lot more people I don't usually see that don't go to like New England Drupal Camp or Mid Camp, but I see a lot of the same people at Florida and Asheville because they're a lot closer together geographically. So it's interesting seeing like different people at all the different camps. I don't ever make it to the ones all the way on the West Coast. It's been a while since I've made it to those, but yeah, I usually stick to the ones that are either East Coast or Midwest.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gone to bad camp a few times, as I've always
Mhm.
liked going to as well, but it's also one of those timing things. And
Yep.
like the last few times it's been around Halloween. I'm like, well, I have young kids. I'm not
Yeah.
leaving for Halloween. So
Yeah. Trick or
I'm not
treating
going.
takes precedence, or giving out candy takes precedence.
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
I got to loot,
Yep.
loot through their Halloween haul for
Yep. Before it's
Santa.
gone. Yeah. Yeah. We This is a Halloween question. When your kids go trick or treating, do they go to one of those neighborhoods where there's like a ton of candy? Is there like one place in your area where people go and trick or treat and there's a ton of candy, or how do you usually do that?
Yeah. So actually, my mother-in-law, she lives in Brookline, and
Mhm.
her street, they shut down the street, and they get
Mm.
thousands of kids. Like she has to go start collecting candy from like Costco like months in
Oh
advance.
wow.
They go through it in like 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
So before I had children, we'd go and help out there and just see
Mhm.
just just masses of children collecting candy. You give each one a bite-sized piece of candy and you go
Yep.
through it all. But now my kids are in elementary school, so we've made friends with people in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
We have a good crew where we'll walk down. I mean, I live on a busy street, kind of the end,
Mhm.
like the residential section, but we'll walk up to like where the bus stop is, and there's some cul-de-sacs. So we'll find a group of parents and friends, and we'll just walk around the neighborhood with them. And usually one of the other dads is like pulling a wagon with beer in it. So we'll drink, and the kids will trick or
Mhm.
treat and have fun and go crazy, and then we'll come home. So
Yeah,
I
that's
usually leave like a
nice.
bowl of candy out. I always buy too much candy because, like I said, we're at
Mhm.
the end of the residential section, right before like
Yep.
the commercial section. So I'll leave a bowl of candy out, but no kids really make it our way to my house. So I've been setting out full size candy bars so
Oh
that
yeah.
reputation gets built. Like, gotta go to that house. They leave a bowl of full size
Nice.
candy bars. So
And has that worked? Have they
I think
actually been all
so.
gone? Oh, that's
Whether
good.
it's one kid stealing all the
Oh,
candy
that's
or if
true.
it's, I don't know. But I buy like
Yeah.
the one big box of like 30 candy bars from
Hmm.
Costco, and I just put that in a big bowl, holding a few
Yeah.
back for myself, like Reese's, because
No,
Reese's,
yeah, yeah.
they're the
Yeah.
best in my opinion.
Definitely. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. Too bad that bad camps at the same time. It was
Yeah.
cool to do both. But glad you're having fun with Halloween.
Yeah, right. You got to pick what's
Yep.
important and when to go do certain things. So, but that's where it's good where people give the same talks over and over, is because then
Hmm.
like if I'm gonna miss it at bad camp, I can pick it up at another place or watch the recording if I get a chance to. And
Yep.
that's one of the things where it's been interesting. So, I'm on the event organizers working group in Drupal, and we're
Hmm.
starting working on a speaker bureau where we're like building a list of like past camp speakers, like from trying to get it from all across the camps, so that when camps are like, oh, I don't know who to have come, like who to reach out
Hmm.
to speak at my camp, we can like have this ready-made document, be like, well, look at all the people, what they're talking about, where they've like spoken before. So if you want to reach out to like an experienced speaker, we'll have that list. But compiling all that, I get to see the different talks people are
Yep.
giving over and over, or slight variations. So it's fun to start gathering
That's
that.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a cool initiative. I hadn't heard of that one yet, so that's really nice to know that that exists. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we wanted to there's a lot of cool initiatives like the events platform and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but just something to help the camps, especially, or even meetup groups, right, as they're looking
Hmm.
for people to have come and speak on topics, to know who to pick and choose from. So
Yeah. No, that's really really cool. Yeah, that's a really really cool thing to keep. Yeah, keep track of.
yeah.
And yeah, I only do the same talk once a year. Like I will like the talk I'm giving this year, I won't give it next year. I'll think of a whole new talk to give next year. I don't know if that is. I'm trying to think if I should try giving multiple talks in a year, writing multiple talks. I mean, that takes a lot of work writing a
Yeah.
talk, so that's why I like giving one and kind of editing it throughout the year to make it better because I know I'm speaking 4 or 5 times a year. And yeah, I think for either Asheville or I'm speaking at GovCon as well in August.
Oh, awesome.
So for one of those two, I want to switch up how I do my slides. I've been using Google Slides for a long time. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to use something like Reveal.js so that it's a whole web-based slide platform. And that way, if I have any examples I want to show, I don't have to tab out of my slides, go into CodePen, show my CodePens with the stuff, and then go back into my slides because it's kind of an awkward experience. If I do something like Reveal.js, I can just put the code right into the slides, and that way I can show it dynamically right there and not have to do the awkward dance, especially when the podium is all the way on one side and the projector is all the way on the other. And I have to do this like weird, like looking around the corner, trying to like see, like point where my things are. And I'm like, oh, this is a weird experience. I'd rather just have it all in one thing so it's easier, or all on the same slide so that's easier for people to follow. So that's something I might end up doing. That's something I'm going to do.
Reveal.js is a really cool framework for doing
Yeah.
presentations. So that's actually when I started speaking, I first built all my presentations in Reveal, because at the time I was like, oh, I'm not going to use
Like
what's the
Google
name?
Slides or Keynote.
Yeah, or any of those.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna
Yep.
build it all myself. And I built a few plugins to go with Reveal,
Hmm.
like to put line numbers in your code examples and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But after a while, I was spending, because I'm a developer, right?
Yeah.
I spent more time working on the code for the
Yeah.
Reveal.js than like working on the deck and
The
the
slide
slides
itself.
for it.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
just eventually I switched the other way, and I went to Google Slides. I'm like, this way I'll get rid of that where I'm paying attention to the wrong thing.
Yep. Of
Not
course.
to not to say that you would do that or anything.
Hmm.
It's fun to use it, and I agree. Like,
Yeah.
you have a lot of code examples, to have them right in there in your slide deck that you can point to is and watch them run. It's very beneficial.
Yeah. I used Reveal for the some of the first talks I gave in 2019, but I moved away from it in 2023 after COVID and going back into talks. I'm just like, I need to do something easy. Let me just do Google Slides. They're right here, and there's templates. And my company at the time had their own kind of slide template, so I just used that. It was pretty easy. But now I'm like, I want to do something different, and I want to present in a different way too. I've seen a lot of presentations, like I have a lot more words on my slides than I like. I'd rather do more of a one impactful statement and talk over that while I'm giving my talk, as opposed to read off the slides. I'm not really doing that as much, but I don't want it to feel like that kind of talk. I kind of want to give a more, yeah, just a more impactful talk.
That's awesome. I mean,
Especially,
that's great to challenge yourself that way.
yeah, it's a lot of fun to kind of see myself evolve as a speaker too, as after doing it for a few years, trying to do something new and trying to speak about new things. This talk I'm giving this year is a lot less technical than my other talks. I've given talks on, do you still need SAS? And I did one about color and CSS.
I really
And
like
both
that
of,
one, by the way. I
oh,
sent that one
thanks.
to my team to watch.
Oh, nice. So that's awesome. It was a really fun one because color spaces and all of that in CSS, it's a lot. I learned a lot writing the talk. And again, I like having more technical talks to show a lot of code, but I also want to talk more about ideas too, about, oh, what does a front of the front end developer bring to your team? How is that different from what a back of the front end developer is or what a full stack developer is, and talking about that. So having that kind of talk has been really interesting to me, and trying to develop that into the way I want has been interesting this year too. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's great. And I think that's where, like, having those sort of talks, you're giving the audience a different type of takeaway versus, one from the code, like say with your color and CSS, it's like, oh, cool, I know how to use like these new properties or approach my color differently. But when you have those bigger idea ones, like people come away with like, oh, here's a way I can rethink how I'm working or my team's working. I just had that come up just today. I got a message from somebody where I gave a talk at, I think they saw my version at last NedCamp, and I just gave a version of it at Evolve Drupal Boston recently about managing bugs. But this was like high level of like building trust in your systems. It wasn't about technically solving bugs.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, that the things you covered like really helped me change how I'm like sending out communication. So thank you for that. And I was like,
Oh, that's cool.
What a big compliment. Like the biggest compliment to get. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that talk out because I do like those big ideas talks like that. Like I like the technical ones too, where I can, like you said, come away like, oh, I can implement this thing in this way. Now I know about new colors. I can do these on my next client project. But I like the idea of, oh, I can talk to this person about this, and this is a good way to talk about it. Learning that in a conference talk too. So
yeah, inspiring the people who come and see you. Not to say
exactly.
that technical class don't do that, but definitely having those bigger topic ones and more grandiose messages. So you definitely need less words in your slides when you do that. Because they're listening to you or they're going to read your slides. So you want them to listen to you.
Yep. And that's what I'd rather. I'd rather people listen to me than, oh, I've got all these words on the page. They're just going to read it. Why am I reading it too? So yeah, just redeveloping what I have into that kind of big picture talk is what I'm hoping for next, and what I'm hoping for in those two conferences, and in any other conferences I speak at this year. So I'm excited about that.
Agile Drop.
That's one of the things I know. So you say you work on one talk.
We don't call our developers
present for that year, and then it's done. I try to go with like 2 to 3, and I think it's mainly because I submit multiple ideas to like say like DrupalCon or other conferences. Digital Collegium is another one I present at. And like when one conference picks one talk and the other conference picks the other, like, well, I guess I'm doing these two this year. I gotta work on them.
Yeah, gotta write them
doing no more than like, for me at least, 3 different ideas for the year, because then I have like ones to rotate through, because I feel like if I give the same one too many times, then it's kind of just like repeating the same words over, that it loses its meaning for me as a speaker. And I'm kind of just like on autopilot, and like, oh yeah, I guess this is like, I start to the importance of what I think the topic is, like, lessons every time.
Yeah.
I end up giving 2 different ones every year.
So if you're coming up with 2 talks a year, do you give those talks for longer then? Like, do you do the same talk 2 years in a row because you're not giving it as often, or do you stick to a new talk every year, 2 new talks every year strategy?
Yeah, I try to stick the same, like a year rotation for a talk, within like a slight variation of range. But yeah, because then every year, like I like the one of the reasons I like talking and presenting is because usually when I submit a talk idea, I barely know much about the topic, or I know a little bit, and I haven't built the talk, and it's like that's the fire for me to learn really about it, so I can like talk about it and gain my own understanding better. So every year I want to learn something new, so I try to just come up with brand new talks every year. But every now and then I'll reach back and like, in my list of previous talks, be like, oh, this one's still relevant. Like I have my AI one that I've talked about for developers, and that one's fun because every month, it's like if I give it a different month, I have to research everything that's relevant for that month. So
that's what it was like for my color in CSS
oh
last
yeah.
year. I had to rewrite that one all year long because browsers were starting to support all the things I was talking about. Like I think the first version was, this is only supported in Firefox. And then it was, oh, now this is supported in Firefox and Safari. Oh, Chrome is finally supporting it. So now all major browsers support it. And I had to update all of my
really imagination.
like code pens as well to make sure they all still worked. I would show the code pens in different browsers. That was the other thing that was really hard with the color and CSS talk. And like you, I knew barely anything about the things I talked about in the color and CSS talk until I started developing it, because I did the same thing. I wanted to learn more about it, and I knew that submitting a talk with this was going to light that fire under me to learn and give the talk. And now I know a lot about color spaces and the color functions and all of that. So that was a really, really fun one to give. I really liked giving that one.
Switching topics a little bit with things developing in the world of the web. I think you commented on it, and what are your thoughts on like Figma and their new, like, what, I don't know if they call it site builder, whatever they call it, but
they call it Figma sites is what it's called.
Sites.
Yeah, it is essentially a site builder. I don't know what the most up-to-date version of Figma sites is and what kind of work they've done on it recently, but when it was first announced about a month ago, the accessibility of it was lacking, to say the least.
Did you see Kevin Powell's review of it?
Sure did. Yep, I watched that video. It's like, what is this random S in this span? Like, what is this doing? It was all divs and spans when it could have been using HTML elements. It's surprising in 2025 to see such a big company like Figma put out a product like that. And now I'm hoping that they've made some improvements to it since then. I haven't checked to see, but I know it was not good when it was released and didn't seem like there was a lot of accessibility thought when it was put out. So that was really too bad to see, because a lot of people are going to use it. Like there's going to be a lot of people who we want to build sites. Like we know Figma, we can just have designers build our site and now we can just save it off. It's, again, Dreamweaver 2025 is essentially what it is.
Exactly what I thought. It reminded me of the Dreamweaver days. Just
like, I remember those
ugly
days.
Under the hood, but the people who are using those tools don't pay attention to that.
They're like rollovers or whatever. Remember those from that? This was Macromedia before it was Adobe.
I remember those days.
I remember all those way back in the day. That was 20 years ago. It was so long ago, but so yeah, it was surprising because accessibility was still a big thing back in the early 2000s, but I feel like it definitely is more conscious and more on people's minds now in 2025. So it was really surprising to see Figma sites getting released without a lot of accessibility and like thought about how the code is generated. So I really do hope that it's gotten better.
Generated like nested divs, and the divs had like the role property to like make them like
there's a lot of ARIA labels and stuff on the divs, and like you don't need to use ARIA label here. You can use the actual element that's supposed to be. So it was just, I was really surprised to see that. I was really surprised and sad because it was getting a lot of good press. Like, oh, look at this cool thing Figma's doing. And it would be cool if it was also accessible. But since I really like accessibility and really champion it, it's hard for me to see that, like something like that. And it makes me sad. So hopefully they are doing something to improve it.
My thoughts are that, it's obviously it's using AI to generate all that code. So it's probably just like, one of the problems with AI generated code, I like using AI in my work now, but it's like, it's the mediocre code that it generates, because that's how the most examples out there, the mediocre code. So
yeah, definitely.
It's not really trained to like make things accessible. It's just trained to make it, especially with Figma, to look like the Figma designs. And
that's first and foremost. Yep. But hopefully, like I said, people are working on it to make it better. It's been a month. I should actually check and see like what if there's been any improvements, see if anyone's written about, like, I guess I can test Figma. I know Figma sites you probably have to pay for, so I don't know if I can do that, but I can see if anyone's blogged about it or posted on Blue Sky within the last month about things getting better. So fingers crossed that they're getting better. And yeah, speaking of accessibility, and this is a new this is like a hot topic because it just came out yesterday, but talking about the liquid glass on iOS 26 and macOS 26. That was all released yesterday. There's
Wow.
been some accessibility talk about that as well. I don't know if you've heard much about
Haven't.
the announcement
Tell
from
me,
yesterday.
no, tell me more. I haven't paid attention to it.
Yeah, so WWDC started yesterday and the keynote was yesterday. And this is where they announced a new version of, Mac OS, iOS, iPad OS, all the OSs. They're naming it now based on the year and not the number. Like, I think it was iOS 18 was the last one. The next one's going to be iOS 26 because it must be coming out in 2026.
Gotcha.
So I guess it's not coming out till next year. I thought it'd be coming out this year. It's 2025. So I would think it would be called iOS 2020 or iOS 25.
One-off error,
Yep, pretty much. But they're doing a new design language called liquid glass. So it's kind of what it sounds like. It's kind of this like more translucent, glassy button style and the icon style. What's the name of it? Icon style on your devices. And a lot of people are talking about how the transparency is a little too much. It's hard to see. There's a screenshot of like teal text on top of the liquid glass like treatment that makes it hard to read and things like that. And I mean, it's only the developer betas are the only ones that are out now. So hopefully they're going to do some tweaking with the transparency so that it's easier for people to see. Like I would probably have a hard time seeing it because my eyesight isn't the best. Turns out that happens when you get older. Your eyesight isn't as great as it was when you're younger. And so I probably would have a hard time with the contrast between the transparent buttons and bright text and things like that. So there's been a lot of people talking about that in the accessibility world since yesterday. It was around this time yesterday that it was announced. So
you would think that of all companies, like Apple would have like flagged that before demoing it. I mean, it's not like new technology, it's just a new design style that someone at Apple will be like, hey, by the way, this is not the most accessible way.
I thought so too. Yeah, I was really surprised to see that too, but maybe their thought was, oh, well, this is a beta, we'll tweak it. Kind of like when iOS 7 was first released back in 2012, 2011. The initial font weight was really, really thin, and there's a similar accessibility issue with that where it was too hard to see for some people. So they actually thickened the text in later versions of it. In the beta, it was really, really thin. And then they made it better. So they iterated on it during the beta phase. I mean, ideally, it would be nice for this to be in a good state at the beta phase, but at least they were doing something and they fixed it then. So I'm assuming the similar thing is going to happen with the liquid glass, that they'll make it a little more translucent so it's not as, or a little more opaque, so you're able to see things on top. So
that's way I was going to say, where like, I mean, this is the beta, but they're releasing it. And if they don't make these important fixes and then it comes out with iOS 26, that then people are going to adopt that, right? And so like then it proliferates and it spreads out because it's like, oh, this is what Apple's doing. So let's make our website look like Apple-y. And then
because they did that again with iOS 7. Before iOS 7, they were doing all the skeuomorphic, like the notes app looked like a notebook, it had the spiral bound thing and the like yellow with the lines and things like that to make it look like an actual notebook. And they moved away from that with iOS 7 and made everything more flat, no gradients. And that was the style back in 2011, 2012. And now this is the next iteration that Apple wants to do. And I do feel like style trends kind of follow what Apple does with this kind of thing. So yeah, I'm hoping that people don't follow this, because at least if they do, they think about accessibility and make it a little less like glassy, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what's been going on in the accessibility world. Figma sites and liquid glass are the two things I've seen a lot of talk about in the last. It's only Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, June 10th, and so the last 2 days, that's what people have been talking about, at least in my circles. Both of those things.
Yeah. So like public betas that need to go through some accessibility checking. Which I guess that's a good thing about having the betas out in the public. Then it's so people can see it. So then you can have the developers, the people who know these things, like, hey, this isn't. You shouldn't be doing this way.
You get
and give you that feedback.
Yeah, they'll have the I'm trying to remember if this is how it works. They'll have the developer beta out for a bit, and then they put out the public beta. And that's the time we're all sometimes start installing it to play around with it as the public beta stage. I don't really want to like mess around with the developer betas on my phone. So I don't want to like, brick my phone or brick my computer. That would be bad. So, but I like playing with them to see what's new, see if I like what's going on with Apple. And I've had an iPhone for 17 years now. So I got one in 2008. That was my first iPhone.
Wow.
The iPhone 3G. Yeah, 3G. So way back in the day. And
so I just saw this video yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I was watching it. It was what YouTube channel it was, but they were going through like there was the early days of cell phones. It's like they're trying to figure out like the best keyboard layout. So it showed some very strange ones. Like I think it was Motorola had one where it was like a clamshell. It flipped up and it had like a round, like rotary style. Like it didn't move like rotary, but the buttons were in a circle. It's like didn't know, like they were trying things. They didn't know what like the optimal like number pad, text pad was going to be. And I remember having at the time in like college having my like flip sidekick, like the screen flipped up sideways, and I was like, that was so cool. Now like keyboards are completely gone.
Yeah, I have like the T9 on my cell phones back in the day where you hit every single number to get the letter you want.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. I had a Crazer, the Motorola Crazer, not the Razor, the like fancy second version of it. It was like electric blue and it was like slim and it was a cool phone until I got my iPhone. And it was the first time I used my iPhone when I was out and about. I picked it up at the mall, opened it up, got it all set up, and I was sitting there in like a food court on this iPhone and just using an actual keyboard, being able to go on the internet on this phone. I'm like, this is amazing. I can go on the internet everywhere. Now it's like so common now, but in 2008, it was just like mind blowing to me. It was just something that was completely new. And I mean, it is a completely new thing because their phones are everywhere now. I think people use their phones more than computers, right? I think more people are on mobile devices than on desktops.
I mean, we only call them, in my opinion, we only call them phones for historical I never like the one thing I hate to do on my phone is have phone calls.
Call people.
I don't want to talk to people. Like I use it for everything else. Like, to like browse recipe, like to watch videos, do all of my stuff on my phone. Like last thing I want to do is actually call somebody on my phone and talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many other ways to communicate with people. You don't need to actually do the phone call part of your phone.
But I don't know. I mean, we're stuck with that term. Like it's a phone.
Yep, it's my phone. I mean,
like the least most important feature nowadays.
Yeah. And it's nice having one device. I remember, again, before my iPhone, I would have my iPod and my PDA. I don't know if you ever had a PDA. I had a Handspring Visor Pro. That dates me. It's not a Palm Pilot, but it was similar. And I would have to carry both of those around and my little like flip phone. Like, this is 3 devices. I don't want all 3. So then when I heard the iPhone was coming out, I didn't get the first one, like I was saying, but like this solves all my problems. It's everything in one device. And I mean, that's the same with any phone, regardless of if it's Apple or Android. It just does everything that multiple devices did. And I like having it all there. It's nice to have just one thing to carry. Because again, women's pockets are small. So I only want one thing to carry.
Yeah. And even when it was the days where with those flip phones, I remember have the phone, I had my CD player. I have like my notebook, like carry all these things around. And luckily I always, I have clothes that have lots of pockets. I don't have that societal impact, but it's not having to remember to carry all that stuff and have that one thing. Even when you had like iPods and you still had like iPhones, like having that phased out eventually.
Yeah. That's interesting too, because I remember the iPod being the big thing. Like I couldn't imagine a world without the iPod, and then it died out like 10 years after it came out because iPhones became the more dominant tech at that point. It was just amazing because the iPod was also another one of those big, like again, I had my CD player, my Discman. I had a Walkman and a Discman when I was a kid. And, I'm like, oh, the CD player is great. I don't need anything else. And then when I got my first iPod, I'm like, oh, I can carry much more music around all the time. This is a lot better. And I don't have to carry my little CD case, like my CD, folder around with all my CDs in it. I can just put everything on my phone or on my iPod. That was really, really cool.
I still have in my basement, I have like 2 huge binders, like all my CDs.
I've got all mine too.
At one point I had ripped and like, burned onto my iPod, like back in the college days, spending hours sitting in my tower computer, putting it in, reading the data off of it. I think I still have like all those MP3s somewhere.
Really?
Buried on some hard drive somewhere, I'm sure.
I don't even know if any of my CDs still work. I mean, I bought my first, it's funny, I know this. I bought my first CDs almost 30 years ago. Over 30 years ago. It was this year. 1995 is the year I first bought CDs. So I have 30-year-old
What was your
CDs.
first CD? Do you know?
Dookie by Green Day was my first one. I loved Green Day when I was 14. So, yep. Nice. And then I bought a Cranberries album after that. Those were my first 2. Yeah. What were yours?
Yeah, because I remember my dad got me a portable CD player for my birthday. I think it was Christmas. But the first album I got was the Metallica Black album. And I listened to it on repeat so many times. I don't know what the second one was. But I also remember my first DVD ever buying was Gladiator from Best Buy. Like I got it at Best Buy. I remember that.
I think mine was the Beatles anthology on DVD.
Oh, nice.
I think that was the first DVD. I do not have a DVD player. I have not had a DVD player in like 10 years now at this point. I just stream it. I don't have a CD player either. I have nothing to play my CDs, or I don't even think I have any DVDs anymore.
You have to go on like eBay to buy that stuff.
Yeah, I know. You can buy a tape player. I can buy a VHS. I think I have some like old tapes, old VHS tapes and old cassettes. I can't play those either. I can't play any of my old tech, and that's kind of sad.
I still have a Blu-ray DVD player flown around here, and I don't know if I have a CD player. I must have a CD player. I definitely have old laptops. That's one of the things like this little old laptop. So in the basement that has a CD-ROM drive. So if I needed to, I could plug that in to listen to my CDs.
Nice. I don't even think I have that. I think the only other computer I have is one that doesn't have a CD player. So I have nothing here to play CDs. So I'm out of luck if I ever want to play those CDs or spend $1 million on whatever, something that can play, because they got rid of the super drives too, right? They don't make the super drives for Macs anymore. The thing that you can plug into your computer and use a CD burner or CD drive with, but it's too bad.
That's like, but you hold on to those things. Like I'm not getting rid of my CDs or my DVDs.
No, same.
I'm probably never gonna listen or watch them again, but there's some things like I got really excited this year because I don't know if you're a fan, but Kevin Smith got back the rights to the movie Dogma finally.
Oh, nice. I did hear about Dogma coming out again.
Yeah. And so like I have it on DVD, but that's the one Kevin Smith movie, like me and my wife both like it. It's like, I can't watch it anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere because like no one had the people who had the rights to it weren't doing anything with it. And now like he's bringing it back. It's going like it's touring the country in theaters.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, finally, like I'm going to be able to watch Dogma again.
Oh, I haven't seen Dogma in so long. So I really liked Kevin Smith when I was in college. I actually went to see him I went to Indiana University and he spoke there in 2002, 2001. It was in part of one of those Evening with Kevin Smith. They actually filmed it at the show that I saw him at. And yeah, it was cool. I had a good time and I really liked him. Kevin Smith reminds me of the early 2000s because I watched all the movies. I think I saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in the theater when it came out in like 2003 or whatever. So that's cool. It's cool that he's finally getting the rights back to Dogma and that's coming back out because I never got to see that one in the theater. That would be a cool one to see. Yeah,
that's one where I'm watching for like when it comes to this area to like grab a pair of tickets so that my wife can go.
Good idea.
It's a fun experience. Like we like going to, we haven't done it in a long time, but there was a theater in the Coolidge Corner Theater in Brookline where they do like midnight like sci-fi movies. Like we watch like The Fifth Element.
Oh, nice.
Stuff or Back to the Future. Just like like getting a chance to see those sort of movies in theaters is just an experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember seeing some of the Star Wars movies in the theater, like the original ones in the theater in the 90s before the prequels came out. So that was cool to see the old ones out there. And I saw all the new Star Wars movies in the theaters when those all came out. So that was a lot of fun too. But nothing like seeing the old ones, like the original trilogy. It was really cool to see those in the theater. But yeah, that sounds like cool summer plans that you have then if you're going to do that. Do you have any other summer plans that you're excited about?
Yeah, let's see. We have a couple of weeks down in Cape Cod that we're doing, which is always fun. Like I have a timeshare down there, so we'll go
Where
there
in the
for a
Cape do
week.
you go?
I go to West Yarmouth,
Oh,
like
okay.
Mid Cape, and then we'll go for another week in like the Upper Cape, like Wellfleet area.
Yep. I used to stay in
Uh,
Wellfleet when I was a
okay.
kid, so I'm very familiar. Yep.
And then I am getting a chance to take my kids camping one weekend, which my wife isn't big on camping, but I love camping. So we're taking the kids. It's more like a glamping spot, but it's a campground, like
Yep.
a family campground I went to as a kid.
Oh, that's cool. That's
They had
fun.
like, which I won one year. I always remember this campground because I won the jackpot in candy bar bingo, and I had
Nice.
like 50 candy bars. But
Oh, that's
I was
amazing.
forced to share them with my sister and the people I went with. But yeah, and then there's a beer festival up in Portland, Maine that I'm going to in
Oh, that's nice.
actually later in June. It's called Wavy Days, and it's outdoors at like this nice outdoor area. And then I'll be going back up to Portland towards the end of July. There's actually a conference called EduWeb. The
Oh,
EduWeb.
yeah, yeah. I heard of that. I didn't know it was going to be in Portland. That's fun.
Yeah, it's going to be in Portland this year. When I found that out, and one of my coworkers out of my office is our SEO analytics person is speaking at
Mhm.
it.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
I had some budget left. Our budget is about to close at the end of June.
Yep.
I had some professional development budget. I was like, can I just buy a ticket to this? And like, it's in Portland. I'll just drive up to Portland for a few
Yeah.
days. So I got approved
That's
to do
fun.
that. So I'm actually going to take the train up to Portland because, driving to Portland, Maine in July,
Yep.
it's going to be a lot of
Not
traffic.
great.
I'll
No,
take the $70 ticket round trip on the train on Amtrak to go up there. So,
that's better. Not having a car when you're in Portland is nice
yeah.
too, because in the summer it's just,
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
up there in the summer. It's not fun to drive around in there. So it's good to have the train and yeah, go that way. That'll be fun.
Usually every summer, me and like college buddies, we go all the way up to Acadia.
Oh, wow.
And we go camping. And usually I'm the one who drives, but I have an electric truck. And so like now
Yeah.
the last 2 years, I've really had to plan out where to stop to charge
Yep.
because you can't make it all that way on one charge.
No.
Like usually I
No,
stop right
definitely
outside
not.
Portland and Scarborough. And a Walmart Supercenter, there's some fast chargers. So I stop
Oh,
at-
sweet.
So how about you?
Oh,
What do you
that's
got
nice.
going on for the summer? Anything fun?
So I'm mainly going to just be speaking at conferences. That's pretty much going to be my summer plans. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be going to Asheville in July to speak at Triple Camp Asheville. Going to enjoy, nice beer, some barbecue, seeing some Drupal people, and then GovCon in August. It's in I think the University of Maryland, so it's outside of DC.
Mhm.
So I haven't been to that one. I went to GovCon in 2023, but I didn't go last year. So I'll be doing that as well. And then probably just hanging out, like going over to Western Mass to see my family. My family all lives out in Western Massachusetts. It's about an hour and a half away from where I live, north of Boston, and hang out with them. My niece and my sister have their dance recital next weekend.
Oh,
It's
boy.
Friday and Saturday, so I will be volunteering both days and helping them out, watching their dances. My niece is in like 8 or 9 different classes, and my sister's in 4. So I'm going to be watching them, and I'm going to be selling merch at the merch table, which is what I do at the recital. So
Oh, all right.
that'll be a lot of fun.
Fun.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. So it'll be a good summer. It'll be a good summer. Just kind of relax. I'm going to be searching for jobs. That's the other thing I'll be doing this summer. So yeah, it'll be a
Well,
lot
I
of
hope
fun.
you don't have to end up doing that all summer. I hope.
Yeah, I don't want to do it all summer. Hopefully, it'd be nice to like land something by the end of June, and then the rest of the summer is relaxing. Maybe I'll take a trip up to Portland or go to the Cape or something like that too. I mean, Portland is not far from here. Or go to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is
Yeah,
another
that's good,
place
yeah.
I really like. I used to live there, so it's always fun to go back there too. And they have good beer in Portsmouth as well.
Yeah,
So
they do.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Well, it's been fun talking with you, Aubrey.
yeah, same. It was great catching up.
Yeah. And hopefully I'll see you over the summer, if not after the summer at like Ned Camp or sometime before that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably definitely see you at Ned Camp. So if I don't see you this summer, I'll see you then.